Luke Warrenschultz, who's going to be our facilitator. Luke?
Bonjour, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, sorry about that. Good evening. My name is Luke Warrenschultz. I'm the Executive Director here at Boys Fort. It's a pleasure being here tonight. So on your table, you'll find 3 sheets. The first one is our agenda. I want to say that is not in stone yet. This meeting is for all of you and have an open discussion on things that you want to see in the direction of Boys Fort moving forward. Anything pertaining to strategic planning and anything that you would like to see from us in the future. We do have some meeting rules of conduct. All we ask is just to speak respectfully. No swearing, yelling, calling people out. We're going to speak to you as respectfully as we can. If you do have a question, please stand up to the podium. And there's a limit to 3 minutes of speaking time. If you cannot, go to the podium, just wave me over and I will give you the microphone. I hope there's no static that happened just like me. So with that, the floor is yours. There is an open discussion on the bottom to submit any question, and we'll do the best that we can to get that in. So thank you, Miigwech, for being here.
I would just like to say that what on the agenda, what you have are comments that we received online for the meeting. And so that's why these are listed on the agenda, but this is not a set in stone agenda. Like Luke mentioned, we want to hear from the tribal members, you know, what they want us, what direction they want us to take. Our strategic plan ends this year. And so what do you guys want to see moving forward? What are some things that we need to improve on, or whatever you got? The floor is yours. We're here to listen. And I'm not sure. We want to do intros, I guess. Okay, Shane. Introductions.
Oh, my name is Shane. I'm the District 1 representative. Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Robert Moyer Jr. I'm a District 2 representative here in Vermilion.
I'm Kathy Chavers, Tribal Chair.
Tara Gizik, Secretary Treasurer.
Travis Morrison, the other District 1 representative. Welcome. It's nice to see a nice full house tonight. Been a long time since we got together like this.
I'm not sure who or what the agenda item for the Eveleth C-Store was, but I can give you a overview of what transpired with that. 2 years ago, we were approached by the city of Eveleth to put a C-Store in at the Highway 37, 53, not directly off the freeway, but over by Service Master, kind of right across the road. And they were gonna sell us the land for $1. Remember that, they were gonna sell us the land for $1. And at that point, they were gonna give us 11 acres for $1 to put a C-Store in, because they wanted a store that could do trucks, you know, like semis, because there is no place really in Eveleth. They wanted coffee, they wanted bait. So they approached us regarding having a C-Store there. So they had the property cleared. It's on city sewer and water. And so they had the property cleared, and we started working with them on that. And through the 2 years, we actually came up with plans, and we met with the county, because the county's putting in a, what kind of road is that? Frontage road coming from Rockridge to Highway 37. They're gonna put a roundabout in by the Slumberland in Eveleth there because of the traffic crashes or whatever. But they are gonna be thinking about putting a roundabout in by Slumberland there in Eveleth, because they don't want the buses going out from Rockridge onto the freeway in that aspect for safety reasons. So that's why the county was putting in a frontage road, and our C-Store at that time was going to be right at the end of that county road. So anybody going into the school and any buses or that type of thing would be going right by our store. And then, so a feasibility study was done and everything. We got the plans drawn up. It's also a hub for ATVs and snowmobiles there, trails. And it was going to have a separate pump for those vehicles, because you know, when you go to the gas pumps, sometimes they take up the area of the gas pumps. And so it was very well done, and there was wetlands there. Well, when it came to, we met numerous times. We met with IRRR was going to fund it. Some of the legislators were in favor of it. It was to build a relationship with the Iron Range, to have a C-store there. And we were going to put the land into trust. And we told them that up front. We were working with the city administrator, the city attorney, and they hired a project person to oversee this project. Well, apparently the trust, putting the land into trust wasn't relayed somehow or explained to the city council. And so when it came time to, we were just getting ready to put the plans out, you know, ready for bids and whatever. And the city council had a special meeting. And once it ended up where we had 16 acres that we needed for the store, and they were okay with that. But once it came down to hearing that the land was going into trust, they said, no, we want to lease you the land. And they wanted to lease the land to us for 30 years. And then and then in 10 years, another lease, and then in 10 years, another lease. And then they wanted to have ownership of the store. And then they also wanted us to prepay $600,000 in taxes. And so at that point in time, we said, no, we're done. We're not going to do the store. That wasn't the deal. We were going to buy the land. We were trying to do something with the communities. And they apparently didn't do their homework. I'm just going to say that apparently they don't know about tribes and trust land. But that's what happened. And when they started to kind of, and I'll just say it, dictate what we can do with that store, what we're going to sell in it, to lease the land to us, that wasn't the deal. And so we pulled out. And that's what happened with that store. It was a good plan. It was a good location. It was a really nice store. We did the plans and everything. It looked beautiful. We were going to incorporate our rice and our our beadwork and arts and crafts, a way to get people to buy some of the things and be part of that economy and community. People were looking forward to it. But that's on Eveleth. That's not on us. We did our due diligence. We did everything that they asked of us, but then they turned tables, and that's all I can say. Very disappointed, and actually I'm very how can I say this? I'm very upset with the city of Eveleth for doing that, because and Tara brought it up today. It reminds me of a broken treaty. That's exactly what happened with the city of Eveleth. And so the Evelyn C store is no more. We're done with that project, so it will not be moving forward. We did invest about $100,000 into that planning and engineering work and drawings and what do you call that when you swap those swampland? Credits. Wetland credits. Yes, thank you. Water. Yeah. And so all those things were done and did cost us $100,000, but around that figure, that's not accurate figure, but that's what happened with the Evelyn C store. So I don't know if anybody has any comments or questions. That's on there now. Teresa, do you want to come up to the mic, please? Sorry, but we're recording this as well. So, and then our people online, I hope we have some. Yes. And please, if somebody can remind, or if you see a hand go up, will you let us know? I don't have eyes in the back of my head.
I was just curious, at what point in time did they change location? Because we heard that there was a location change on their part before we pulled out.
When they changed the location, when they first presented it to us as a tribal council, it was right off the off-ramp, coming in from Duluth into Evelyn. It was right off the off-ramp. That feasibility study was based on that location. And when we went to go look at it, the location was moved further down the road. Now, that's when I basically changed my mind. I did no longer support it because of the location. Our Y store up here is on a busy highway. And with that first location that the Evelyn C store was at, had a very good chance, in my opinion, of succeeding. But because it was moved to the second spot, basically, I said, I'm not in favor of this anymore. It's not going to work. It's going to be a burden on our casino. And it's going to be a burden in general. So that's why I informed the council that I'm no longer in support of it. And that feasibility study, I still have it. I still have that copy. And I'd be happy to share it with you if you want to look at it. Thank you.
Any other comments on the C store? Otherwise, we can move forward. And anybody that has any comments, go right ahead and come on up to the podium. Jeffrey. Oh, turn the button. There you go.
Good evening. So it costed us around $100,000. Will we be seeking remunerations from the city of Leavenworth for blowing up this project?
Currently, no.
I think one thing to point out too is that with the second location, they're going to build a road from the second location up to Rockridge High School, but they didn't have the funding secured yet, so that's still iffy. I just want to point that out. Thank you.
I did get clarification from, oh my gosh, Keith Nelson, the commissioner, and also MnDOT, tribal liaison Levi Brown, and who's our MnDOT rep? Been there forever. I'm really having some memory issues here tonight. Dwayne Hill, that there is a road going in there. There is a frontage road going in for Rockridge. It's a safety issue for the buses. So that's been clarified by the facilities. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I thought you had a question. Doggone it. Okay. Does anybody have any comments or whatever they want to say? Go right ahead, Jay.
I guess just to kind of clarify, could you explain what the wetland credits are, and then if they're affected now that they're not being used, or are they being used? Are they still with us?
Oh, no. You want to explain the process for wetlands though? How that goes with credits and,
What happens is when you're wanting to do a project and there's a wetland in there, a wetland delineation needs to happen. And that marks out what it would take. You're taking away from natural, and you're replacing it. So that's what you need to buy in order for your business to happen. So that's what the wetland credits are. You have to pay for paving over or getting rid of that portion of a wetland. I don't like it.
with this project, nothing was done with the wetlands because we didn't reach that point yet. So they're still there, but nothing's been done and we didn't lose any credits or we didn't buy any credits. So.
I think the other thing too to point out is that when we first started this, the cost was like about 3 million. And then when we finished it, because of the inflation, it went well over 10 million. Thank you.
One thing I'd like
Go
to,
ahead.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
One thing I'd like to point out is I did come in, I think Robert and I come in, this project was already rolling, So when we got in there, I questioned a lot of things. And, I tried to be a partner, with the current council. Yes, I think I'll look into it and see if it's good. And then some of those red flags start coming, and I'd ask more questions. And then when it was moved further from the main road there, Highway 53, I knew that wasn't going to work, especially that turn, that turn is very sharp. I wasn't comfortable with it. And all the land that we want to buy, businesses that we want to buy, putting things into trust is always our number one goal. That's what we are going to do. I don't want to ever buy something and then just keep it state land for somebody else and paying and paying and paying for that every year. Property taxes and everything else and going by only their rules. So whenever we make a purchase, I want the council to know that is our main priority is putting it into trust.
I just want to mention that something that Shane brought up regarding increased costs. With our ARPA projects and some of the projects we're doing, you're hearing that we've got a Vermilion Public Works facility coming. We got funded for a new DNR building. We're looking at other facilities like a roundhouse. All these projects that we have been funded for were proposed about a couple of years back or a year back. And even we've done plans for a community health building in Net Lake. And based on those prices at that time, that's what we submitted our grant applications for or our funding applications for. Well, as most of you know, everything has skyrocketed. So like our DNR building, for example, we estimated maybe 3 million or so, well, that's now skyrocketed to more than over 5 million. So when we get these projects funded, we are finding that we need more money than what we actually requested from the granting source or whoever. So that's one thing that really kind of wasn't anticipated, but it was, I know that Kim Greiner, our CFO, we did put money aside just in case, because whenever you start a project, it always starts out really high. And then, things get added, things get taken away. There's issues that arise with supply and demand, things that we may need. We might be able to get this product then, but we can't get it now, so it might be a different cost. So that's one thing that we're dealing with a lot with our ARPA projects now is increased costs. So it's nothing new. I think you've seen it in the grocery stores. You've seen the increased costs with lumber supplies. So everything is costing a lot more and sometimes it's hard to get. Sometimes you can't get things that you need to complete a project. So those are some of the barriers we're running into with our ARPA projects. But I do have to say, we've got a great team that have been working on these projects and have done a wonderful job on getting funding and getting those needs accomplished. So we are looking at ways to improve our facilities, like our DNR building, for example. Our water quality lab is in there. Our wild rice is stored in there. It's one of the oldest buildings on the reservation now. And it is a very dry building because it's a wood building. And so getting a new DNR building was a priority because also, you know, that's where our rice is stored and that's where our natural resources, that's our livelihood, our wild rice. The other thing is the elderly housing. We've applied how many times, Doris? 2 or 3? 3 times for funding for new elderly housing. That's a huge priority. And we keep resubmitting the proposals, and we're still waiting on our 3rd submission right now. But we have proposals in for 8 units in Vermilion and 8 units in Nett Lake. And so once we hear about that, and I don't know, fall time maybe, Doris? Fall time is when we'll hear about our submission on that. And it's the same funding agency, so we're hoping that some of the things that we needed to improve on in the application, it has been done and that will get funded for elderly housing. So those are some of the projects that are coming up that we're still working on. But like Luke mentioned, we are looking for ideas, you know, what direction do you want us to go? You know, we have the smoke shop, for example, is kind of like the next item on the agenda, but you know, the state of Minnesota legalized cannabis. And August 1st, it'll be legal. The states have to have a compact, or the state has to have a compact with the tribes first before the tribes can get into cannabis businesses if they want to, or be providers or producers. And so right now, the state of Minnesota is in the process of hiring a cannabis director and department. And before we can start our compacting with them, they want to have those, the governor's office wants to have those positions in place. Red Lake and White Earth, I believe, are moving forward with their cannabis. And the problems we're going to have, though, is we can transport from tribe to tribe, but we can't transport from out of state due to the federal policies. And also, the banks do not take cannabis money. The federal banking laws don't allow that. So there's a lot of things that are playing into this, but August 1st, individuals can have cannabis, 2 pounds. And, you know, we will be we did put up RFPs for feasibility studies for cannabis. And then we'll be putting out a survey to the tribal members, asking your input on, is this something that you guys want us to do? Is this a business you want us to do? But we need to do our due diligence on our side by getting the RFPs out to have that feasibility study done. One thing that the state did is that the state is going to tax 17% on cannabis products, 17% tax. The tribes, the way the law was written is the tribes are tax exempt, so we don't charge the 17%. So basically, our products will be cheaper if we do sell them on the reservation, but that's up to the tribal membership to decide that, if we're going to pursue that. So that's what we mean about, you know, what direction do you want us to go in? Go ahead.
And I believe too, we could tax it, and that would be our tax, not the state's.
We could implement a 2% tax and use that towards revenue for whatever. I mean, that's up to the membership. And so Mayan, our CEO, and also our economic development person is submitted the RFPs out. And so we're just waiting for that. We do have our smoke shop open. It is legal. And we are having problems with workforce all over within the tribal government. Our smoke shop would be open more if we had workers. And so, but we need workers all over in all of our programs. And so The smoke shop is open, I believe, on weekends right now. Do you want to come to the mic? This is Mayan Beltran, our CEO and economic development person.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so staffing has been an issue, but we have been trying to open it Friday and Saturdays. We have hired some people and they've been trained. So starting next week, we're gonna start opening Thursday through Sunday, so 4 days a week. And as we add more people, we'll extend the hours more. We don't want to advertise hours if we don't have enough staff, so we're trying to do our best with that right now. But the increase in business has skyrocketed. It doubled over the 4th of July weekend, and we're only on a soft opening at this point. We haven't really advertised opening, again, because of staffing levels. So at this point, it's rising in business, and it'll keep doing that the more we open the hours and are consistent with that. We also started selling these edible products, Delta 9 and CBD products, over at the Y store within the last week or two, and that's already starting to do very well. Now, the good thing about that place is it's already staffed, so that's a 7-day-a-week. You know, they have the products that they're selling there, and they're always available because staff is always available there. So it's in the Ledge, if you guys are interested in those products there.
How about the Net Lake C store?
Net Lake C store, I talked to Chesty about that, and we're waiting on what products he wants to put in there. He's already been over here, so I messaged him last week, and we're just trying to find out when he's ready to start putting it into place. Thank you.
Mayan, to flush this out further with the marijuana business itself, is that we had the opportunity to possibly buy from the other reservations that have their own growing facility, White Earth and Red Lake, but that's going to be on a limited means because they're going to be basically supply and demand in their area. Are they going to be able to keep up with it? And talking with Mayan a while back, is that trying to find a way, a loophole within the transportation issue that we're facing as a tribe, that if we bought from a facility down in the southern part of the state of Minnesota, can we grow to a certain point, transport it up, finish it here? I mean, we're looking into that, but we're trying to find every way possible to do that. Because I keep saying this, that we need to have more businesses that generate revenue for the tribe. Because our casino is still doing good, but not good as it once did before in the past. With the inflation and cost, everything rising, and our profits basically staying the same, we need to do something, people. We need to get more businesses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayan. Sure, come on up.
Something. I disagree with all of it just because our recovery here is lacking. Our community is lacking of workers because of the drug use, because of alcohol. Ooh. I don't agree with the money part of it. You know, there's other ways we can profit off of our land than putting more drugs into our community. It's gonna uprise more crimes, more losing our children, our traditions through all of this. And I was in addiction myself, and just hearing, you know, this is what we are planning on producing in our community. It's like we could fix our community through recovery. We can benefit bringing in a New Moon being changed, you know, a little bit more tighter there, or even, you know, working with elders, bringing back nursing, bringing back, you know, our people to our casino, to our, you know, tribal members, than producing something that's going to affect us even more, our children even more. Like, oh, that just hurts my heart. But
Miigwech, thank you for your comments. And that's why this really isn't a done deal until the tribal membership decides. And that's why we will be sending out, once we have all the information together for people to look at, it's up to the band members to decide. So thank you for your comments. Jeff?
In March of 2021, in the newsletter, uh, it was talked about reducing the money of losses in the band's businesses, such as the C-store and Wheelie. Has there been, has the tribal council done like anything in looking into that or made any changes towards that?
WLY's gone, so we don't have that, money from here going over to WELY. The C-store though, we had a meeting with Joe Niquinabe, and for those that don't know Joe Niquinabe, he is the business economic development person for the Mille Lacs Band. And he is actually one of our mentors for our tribal finance project that we're being involved with. And there's businesses, he said, that you have that are a necessity for the community. And then there's other businesses that are there for profit. And he mentioned, you know, their C-store, and we thought of our C-store, and those are there for the tribal members. So the Nett Lake C-store does lose money, but it's a necessity for the Nett Lake community. You know, we'd get a lot of our gas and whatever for our services there. However, you know, by selling some of the CBD products, I believe at the C-store will help. And also marketing the C-store to local resorts. You know, we were talking about adding some possible, a small casino there, small machines in the C-store. There's various opportunities that we're looking into, but right now we just don't know exactly what we're going to do. But the other thing is that we do have the possibility of selling, if approved, the cannabis at the C-store before anything, because they figure it's going to be at least 1 year to for people to be able to buy products within the state, any products, because they're not, the state's not going to be set up. The tribes may be set up earlier, and that's where those compacts come into play. But we'll put that out to the tribal membership first. But we are trying to look at ways to help cut down that deficit at the C-store, because it's not on a main road. It's a one road in, one road out, but it's a benefit for the community. And, you know, the laundromat is there. People do use it, but it's a matter of balancing what we can put in there. Maybe there are still some people that use the laundromat. So looking at it in different aspects in that manner. So.
Did he make any recommendations on how to reduce the losses?
One is inventory. I think, you know, the thing is cost again. The cost for the truck to come up that way, the cost at the C-store, I'll be honest, the costs are enormous. I don't know how people can afford some of the stuff that's in the store, but that's the way the costs are going. I mean, look at how eggs went up like crazy. You know, so some things are beyond our control, but I think diversification in the store might be an option. We're looking at possible solar for some of the buildings to help cut on utility costs and stuff. So I think there's a various amount of ways. It's just what ways do we want to go with it?
Okay. As a shopper at both stores, there's a drastic price difference, as the Nett Lake stores prices are less and the Y stores are higher. Do you know why? Okay.
I can't answer that because I don't know the answer. I'll be honest, but we can find out.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayan, do you know?
Yeah, some of that is for what you just explained, right? I mean, some of the businesses are for profit, like the Y store, you got a lot of people traveling through, and the C store is priced more for community. So we haven't raised the prices because it would affect the community that utilizes it. So we're trying to keep those as low as possible. It's still, you know, we're cutting into things. We're looking at inventory, like you said. We're really adjusting, as you've seen, if you've been in there recently, we've taken out some shelves, we've taken out some things that don't sell, and we're trying to put in things that are selling. So, you know, we're trying to adjust on the fly. We are talking about the small amount of machines that might benefit the facility, and selling some edibles and CBD products in there as well. That might help with the revenue side of it. But and again, it's more for the community, so we don't try to price everybody. We're trying to supply, you know, goods and services at a decent value. Thank you.
Think that with, you know, the Nett Lake C-store, I think we've done pretty much everything that we can do to try and minimize the amount of money that we're losing. But getting back to WLY, is that I've been pushing to close that ever since I got on council, because it's dead weight on our casino. We'll never get that money back that we poured into it. Period. Thank you.
So I
ahead, Jeff.
understand, community pricing. But if we are looking at, you know, the number that we saw at the financial presentation last year, I don't think that justifies. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Millie?
Okay, Millie again. I just want to make a comment about the Nut Lake store and the revenue. A number of years ago, when they first switched over to that location up there, I was working in the deli there, part-time. It was supposed to be part-time, but I ended up covering a lot of shifts. But I did work in that deli, and I kept asking and asking and asking for them to order more stuff that we could sell on the weekends. Our freezer space, which is extremely limited there, was taken up with all of the food products that they use to sell soup, which they sell about maybe 100 at lunchtime to all the employees. That was their main focus. When I was there, I would work the breakfast shift on the weekends. And I was always being asked for all the breakfast items that they had, and especially the breakfast pizzas. Inevitably on Sunday, I had to start telling people that no, I did not have any more items, because they refused to make sure that I had enough to sell on the weekends. Same thing when I did the evening shift, especially during the week. I would sell a lot of food.
Can anybody hear me? We have no sound. Oh, it's back. Oh, it's gone again.
Try again. Is the sound back? Can you hear us? I feel like I'm talking to the sky.
It is. It's back.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. Okay, if we have no more discussion on the C-store, there is a question online or from our audience that came up, and it says, due to the recent overdoses all over, is something going to be done to clean up our own reservation from the heroin, meth, fentanyl problem? And this the drug overdoses and the drugs and cleaning up our reservation is a huge, huge undertaking. And it takes a community and all of us to work together to do that. Our programs can do so much. Right now, we need staff. We need people to work. As far as I know, like, for example, we've got a lot of position openings that need to be filled. A lot of the SUDS or chemical dependency, we need workers. We need to also, we also need to report. We can tell law enforcement so-and-so's dealing over there in that house. We all know who they are. They need evidence. They need someone to actually see that in order to go into that home. They can't go just because Kathy said she saw someone dealing, or knows it's a drug house. They actually need to see something in order to do something. If, for example, let's say I'll just, Terry, if I could, I'm going to use a CHR as an example. A CHR goes into a home and they see a needle and, maybe a spoon or whatever on the table or some drugs on the table. That's an instance where they can say, I need to call the police because that worker did see that. But when it comes to knowing who's dealing in the community, we need to report anything, license plates, people that we know don't belong in our community. If you see license plates, report them. And those types of things, but we as a community need to do that. Go ahead, dear.
I believe what would be beneficial with New Moon is having sweeps. You know what I mean? Having them be accountable for their actions by making sure those walls are tested, having the attendants walk in and make sure their housing is clean, making sure that those kids are safe. That's the priority of New Moon. I live there. I disabused all my rights there. But now as a sober mother looking into that's where I want to be. I want to help. And just watching our community through this abuse of drugs and what our children are living with, it's just been a victimized situation, trails and trails of it, you know what I mean? And then on top of it, it's just like the police are here every day working on trying to work with these crimes and it's be pointing out things in it's just like word of mouth. Yeah, I get, but I mean, it's just like that investigation. If you get caught with something higher than, you should be banned from the reservation. And then the way Fortune Bay makes agreements with how you gonna hold yourself accountable, welcome back, and hold yourself, what actions did you take to be coming back to our community and live a safe community and live by our laws? I mean, that should be the consequences instead of boarding up houses. We have so many houses that have, so many homeless people in our community. It's a battle. I think right now our focus is the main part is recovery and how to build up what we already have right now and then build on.
Congratulations on your sobriety. And thank you for those comments. And I know that just as an FYI, last week, we've had it in the newspaper, but we talked about these vending machines that we're getting from Johns Hopkins. And they're community vending machines and they're going to be free. Inside those vending machines is going to be Narcan, fentanyl testing strips, because we know that fentanyl is here. We know that we know all the drugs are here. But in order to prevent overdoses, these are free vending machines, one in Nett Lake, one in Vermilion that will be coming. They're supposed to be done hopefully in mid-August. And one will be at Fortune Bay here and one will be in Nett Lake at our C-store. And they're available for people to, that may be using, and maybe they question what they're using. They don't know if it's safe. We don't want them to OD, or if they have friends or family that might be using. They need Narcan. They can get the Narcan. There's also a wide variety of things in there. There's COVID testing kits. There's pregnancy testing kits. There's socks. There's underwear. There's all kinds of items in these vending machines that are free. And we're the first tribe in the state to get these vending machines from Johns Hopkins because it's about also preventing things from happening. So I agree with you. There needs to be a lot done. And it's difficult because it's just, there's so many things that can be done. For example, Jamie, we meet with Chief Burdick weekly or whenever we can. There is a, what is it called when someone goes undercover, Chief? When somebody can go undercover and be paid? Confidential informant. There is a confidential informants that can be paid if they're willing to go in and do that. But I've had, and I'll be honest, I've had family members tell me that I don't dare report anybody because I'm scared. Because they say so-and-so's dealing. I said, well, go tell the cops. I don't want to do that. So there are people out there that do possibly want to do that, but are scared to do it. But there is a confidential informant program through the BIA. So if anybody might be interested or know somebody that might be interested, that's always there. Our drug force person is out of Bemidji, and he handles the whole area for Bemidji and whatever, but we are trying to work with St. Louis County Drug Task Force and others with regards to drug trafficking and whatever, because actually today was a emergency meeting at Red Lake. We weren't able to attend. They had a big bust of fentanyl in their casino. But they never did disclose how much was there. But they did have a big bust, and it was a collaboration of agencies that did that along with the Red Lake BIA and Drug Task Force. So there are things that we're trying to do. It's just that there's a lot of need and a lot of things, and maybe we need a community task force that could help. Maybe that's a way to start something, but we need community input. I'll shut up, Tara. Go ahead.
I got a couple of comments from some band members. One of them was, stop drug abuse starts at home with the parents. Another one said that the council needs to get tough on drug enforcement, meaning the law. Thank you.
So my name is Vonda Carr, and I wanted to just bring the conversation back to workforce and just remind band members that the 477 program is a new program at Voice Fort. And because of the lack of workforce, we know it's important that we are there to help you complete applications, resumes, practice interviews, any sort of workforce needs you feel that we can help you with, we are there to help you. We are located at the Tribal Government Center, but we do travel.
I'd like to expand upon the 477 program with their education. I'm thinking that maybe you want to note this down, Leanne, is we should probably try to make it important to have an addiction counselor and recruit those folks. I can hear the passion in her voice and many people that I've talked to. It's reminding me of several meetings that we've had before. I spoke up as a community member and we were talking about this same thing. And a friend of mine now who's passed away, she's a cousin of mine, and she worked in the SUDS program. And I told her, I said, man, you have the skills, you have the passion. I wish you would go for your bachelor's or to be that addiction counselor like we used to have. So that's what I would do, is encourage those with that passion to do that. Go over and apply for a scholarship. And then ask us as council members for help to guide you on your way to encouragement. because we need folks like you to become those counselors. Thank you.
Any other comments regarding the drug issue? Okay, come on.
Thank you for that. Even when you do get your bachelor's, even when you do get your schooling for that, it is still hard to even get into the programs of the tribal government because of your background history, because of child endangerment or any of it. So it will disqualify you. So then it will be, you know, that touch of hope of being able to be a part of the community would have to be, okay, you guys got to lower your standards and be able to give us a chance to prove that was my young years. This is, you know, my years now. I changed, and giving us the opportunity to prove ourselves to that instead of, you know, because I know a lot of other women and men that have went out there and changed their life, went and got school degrees and came back and applied and still got turned down. So that's something that we would have to look into and how to step forward and work as a team like that too.
You know, you bring up a good point. I'm going to mention a reentry program. Basically, and we also talk about that with people coming out of the prison system, a reentry program. And, you know, some of our funding agencies do have those requirements for some of those, you know, felonies or whatever they may be. But I think that when we're talking about certain programs, there may be avenues for accessing different funding to go around that grant requirement. You know, but it just depends on the situation and the position. But I really think a reentry program for our, you know, everybody does make mistakes. And for people that are trying to better their lives, you know, maybe that's something that we need to look at. Also for those prisoners coming out of prison, because we want, you know, we want our people to come back and work for us or be part of our community. So that might be something that we could look at. I know that we've talked about reentry with the 477 as well. So that's where that would come in as well.
We had just got a comment online, Kathy. I've been begging for a treatment facility for 15 years and tribal council keeps saying it won't make money. So treatment facility on the reservation. So
Again,
Kathy,
oh, go ahead.
that's me. He's just saying that he's been begging for a treatment facility for 15 years, but he keeps being told it won't make money.
With regards to treatment facilities, and I don't really know the specifics of treatment facilities in general, but I would think that because of the billing process that they have for like clinics and hospitals, the billing procedures for treatment facilities are there. The problem is staffing. The problem is getting staffing. You know, if you want an inpatient treatment facility, or if you want a basically a like the mother baby facility we're looking at our Leander home, we need staffing. We just opened a homeless shelter in Net Lake today. We're going to need staffing. We can provide things like that, but again, the third-party revenue could help with the treatment facility, and there's those other supportive programs, though, I think, that would have to be in place to assist with after treatment, aftercare, supportive services. And so it is a huge undertaking. But yeah, we do need the services. I agree. Tracy, do you have a comment?
Why don't we utilize Johnson Lake? I mean, the family could go up there and heal together as a family. I would like to see Johnson Lake used as a facility for recovery.
Tracy, I think that's an excellent idea. There is, and just so everybody knows, Last week, we went through with our directors, the legislative funding, the big $1 billion some surplus, $17 billion surplus through the state. There's a lot of money coming down for housing, homelessness housing, and there's a lot of money coming down for energy through the federal government. There's a lot of money coming down. Our poor little grant writers, we only have one. And she's writing her fingers to the bones, but she's been doing a great job in applying and getting grants. And so there is money coming down. Johnson Lake could actually be turned into like an immersion treatment type facility where we can incorporate the culture and language into it as well as that. We did go visit the Johnson Lake property. We went up to look at Bushman Lake. And it's located next to the Boundary Waters canoe area. And it's up by Ely that way. And we went and looked at the Johnson Lake property. It's overgrown and stuff, but with all the money coming down for language and culture, there's a possibility that we could possibly get some grant money to get the road fixed. Maybe look at, composting toilets. There's no power out there, water from the lake or whatever, but there are options. Oh, wind energy. Yes, I hear you. Solar. Yes. Kim?
Well, you hit on many things, but a lot of things have changed over the last couple of years. But like with a treatment facility, if we were to relook at it, now there's the 105L lease funds, to help do the maintenance of the building and debt service of buildings. That's a big game changer for tribes. But you also mentioned the solar stuff. There is a lot of stuff with solar coming out. In fact, I was on one call that they're talking about the tax credits for tribes, the projects they do, they can sell their tax credits. They actually monetized it. So it's a whole different thing now. And that's just starting to roll out. And that's under, not sure if it was in the infrastructure bills or in the Inflation Reduction Act bills, but there's a lot of money for that type of stuff coming.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, this came in from a band member. The band member says maybe it would help to get staff if the employee at will policy was done away with. And for the record, I did try to make a motion to do that. Thank you.
Just as an FYI, our personnel policy is currently undergoing review. And in that personnel policy, I know it was the previous council and this council that are looking at removing the at-will policy and the personnel policy. We will be discussing that with our directors. It's in a draft form right now. So just so you know that we are looking at our personnel policies and updating them. We just haven't finalized it yet. Ron?
Yeah. See, on this treatment thing, in Duluth, I've been working with the Duluth PD down there. And what they're trying to do now is approach the city council to see, some of our guys, some of our people go to school to become a chemical dependency counselor, drug counselor, where they never used in their life. Never used, never touched drugs, never shot heroin, never did anything. So they become a counselor and they don't understand what this guy's going through, what this guy's going through. What we need is to kind of open our hearts a little bit, open our minds a little bit and get somebody to do these counselings that's been there, done that, suffered that, been through it, been hurt, been almost killed, whatever. Those are the people we need to hire to be counselors. And you just got to look the other way. So what, everybody that's been drinking either had a DWI, got in a fight, felony, got some felonies, but still, you got to look at hey, this guy been there, he done that. He could help this gentleman. And before that can be done, we got to find some way to put these guys who've been on meth for so many years or any kind of drug a place for them to go and so they can bring them off of that withdrawal and then put them in a facility. And do we have anything like that? We don't have anything like that here. We don't, most of our counselors, like in Duluth, they were saying a lot of these kids just want to be work in the field where they help people. But I did a lecture to them one day, a bunch of kids up at St. Scholastica, and we did skits. And I went in there to the counselor as one of the users and stuff and non-native. And I went up there and started telling them, you're just picking on me because I'm native. And I just kept on and kept on and kept on till that little college girl started crying. And I stepped back and I said, hey, I'm sorry, but this is reality. This is what you're going to face out there. And this is what we need here in Nett Lake. It's okay, if they have a few felonies, let them be counselors to someone, our brother, our sister, our sons, our daughters, because, if we can't help our own kids, then somebody's got to try to help us, help them. Because that's the way I see it. Because and a lot of people out there, we want to so hard to help our children, but we can't. Money wise, I know if we give them money, where it's going to go, we give them a place to lay their heads. We know what's going to happen there. We have to hide everything when they come around a house. That's what I've been hearing down in Duluth. But it's so sad. But that's what we need to do. We got to have a big look at the big picture and say, hey, so what? Inky had a few felonies in his younger drunken days. Hire him as a counselor because he's been there, or anybody, I just use me for an example, but that's what we need out here, that's what you guys got to look at. You're a tribal council. You don't have to worry about what the government says or what's going on in your reservation. You want to help your people. I mean, it's that simple. So give that some thought. That little AA counselor degree, doodly squat to me. I could run right over them with words, just like that. But if you had the experience, they can't do that to you because you could say, hey, I've been there. So, okay.
Thank you, Ron. John?
My name's John Goodall, and I was recently hired to be the program supervisor at the sub-program here. I think, there's a lot of emotion in the room here tonight and a lot of concern about, what we're doing for our people. In deciding to come here, I actually had a dream, and I had a dream where this man came to me and said that I was supposed to go and to be a healer, and this was just recently that it was just there's a need here. One of the challenges about being a counselor is that it's not easy to get in the door. You have to have a degree. You have to have the right kind of training. They don't just make you a counselor. It takes time and it takes work. And so there are a lot of entrance barriers. And, I attribute that to, state of Minnesota policies, trying to look out and protect people. But What they have also done is that they've opened up new positions called peer support. And the entrance barriers aren't as high. And we can tap into the people that want to make a difference and want to help. Now, I've just been here a week, and there's a heck of a lot of work to do. And it's kind of a challenging task. But, you know, I can see just from the comments that people have made that, you know, there's really motivation to do something in this community. And I want to do everything I can to help. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Congratulations on the position.
Need to circle back to the at-will policy. It says that, the BAMA said, the council should just do it, get it done with.
One of the things that I was thinking when we're talking about the drug issue is, you know, with the money coming down, this might be a possibility to look at, but sober housing. Because there's a lot of housing money coming, but you can make sober communities. And a lot of people when they, and I'm just saying this because of my family members, and when they come out of treatment, they don't want to come back home. Because there's so much pressure, peer pressure, to use again, and they keep not bothering, but keep hounding them about using. And so there is out there sober housing that might be available for individuals coming out of treatment that might want to go to those types of facilities. So that's just an option that we could also look at. Go ahead, ma'am.
I mean, that's New Moon already out here. I thought that was sober housing for families here. So that's what I was saying with that, is doing clean sweeps, making sure the mother and father are still caring for their children appropriately. Counselors are here already. It just needs to be more structured in, you know, the works right here, the clinics right here, everything's right here. It just has to be more structured. It has to be more, well, how would you say that? Just more, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's there pretty much. And I hear it all the time. It's just like, yeah, I'm living in New Moon. I pay nothing to live here. And you know, but see, that's what I mean. It needs to be more structured. It needs to be more disciplined. It needs to be more well-trained. We got counselors. For example, my sister Megan, she went for drug counseling and moved her whole family all the way down to the cities because there was no employment up here for it, or she didn't qualify for some reason. I didn't get in depth with it, but you know, that's what I mean, bringing back our community as workers. If New Moon is sober living, you know, we can branch out that community off of New Moon, what DW Jones had out there, those duplexes, so that can be another ground of making sure those are still being stabilized. I mean, those are bringing our recovery, keeping our family strong, bringing our community back stronger, bring our workers back into our lands instead of just being pushed out to a whole different other world when we have it right here. We just need to be more, as a team. It's a team effort, but also it's just got to let go of all the guidelines of, you know, what my uncle was saying. It just, you know, yeah, we have a lot that comes, we have baggage, and we just need to be able to have that chance. That's all.
Big Witch. T-John?
I just have to comment on that, what you just said, because that's exactly what I did about getting away from my peers in Minneapolis. My fourth treatment, when I came up here and I came up to Boyce Fort from Minneapolis. I asked Lester, I said, you send me anywhere you want to send me. I said, I don't want to have any say in this. But I'd like to be someplace where there's a bus so I can get back and forth to work. And he sent me to Duluth, to the Thunderbird House, so I wasn't in Minneapolis. Plus I had a bus to find a job. And that was the best thing, to get away from my peers. And I stayed out of Minneapolis for a whole year. After I completed the Thunderbird House program, I checked in at YWCA and stayed there for like, I think I paid $90 a month. It was really cheap for a little efficiency room just to stay away from Minneapolis until I was strong enough. And then after a year of sobriety, I called my ma to come and get me. I said, I can't find work. I need to go to work. And that's exactly what I did. And another thing to it, that when I had my DWI and I did time in jail, that was the best thing too. That was a blessing. 8 months to clear my head before I went to treatment. So there's something you have to do to break that cycle. And and that's what worked for me. I don't know. Everybody's different, but I really wanted to sober up.
Thanks for sharing that, T. John. Yes.
There in Tower is actually opening up a sober living also, and I think maybe we could connect with them too and get more involved with that too, because that's Tower, that's still our surrounding areas of our reservation too.
Thank you for that.
Kathy,
Yo.
Ashley online has a question.
Oh. Go ahead, Ashley.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry, I was scrolling and I had to find the page. I just been listening to you guys, and I love everybody's opinions and coming together and bringing out their voices through this meeting, and it's very helpful to hear everybody's suggestions. And I just had a suggestion. Have you guys ever thought about like having a calling center in Boysport? It could be any, like, well, for example, I'm a tobacco cessation health coach, and I work out of Colorado, and they work under the same guidelines as if I was working through Boysport. I work from home. My starting wage is $20 an hour, and I didn't have to have a degree. I just have the experience, and I thank you so much for Boysport for giving me that opportunity to help me get the experience I needed to get this job. This job, like I had to, like, because of my health issues from COVID, I'm still dealing with COVID long haulers, and I can't be in the community like I used to be able to be. And it created a lot of debilitating health issues. And so, like, I found this job on Indeed, but it just got me thinking, I have all this experience, but now, like, I came a part in my life to where I can't do that anymore. And like this job that I ran into is like a blessing because I get to work from home. I all my equipment was shipped to me. The only thing that I have to provide was my internet. And I get to be at home with my kids like all day, every day, which drives me up the wall, but that's okay. But a call center, the call center that I work for, like I said, it's a American Indian Tobacco Cessation Health Coach, and I help people quit smoking, and that's from like my own. I feel like we have a lot of type of, and $20 an hour. We can do it at home, and I don't know. I'm working with like the powwow. We've been really trying to reach out to the urban communities to home. And that's kind of just where I am at now. Like I wish I could work in my community like I used to be able to, but I can't. But it would be nice to see some more opportunities such as and I didn't have to reach out outside of my state to provide for me and my family. I don't know. It's just kind of a question that I had if that option has ever been brought up within our community of working opportunities. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ashley. That's a really good idea. I've never really thought of that or heard of it. So I think anything is helpful. We know that the old way of doing things is different since COVID because, we're doing Zoom meetings, we're doing team meetings, we're doing, technology really came in advance. So, any ideas that people have for, providing services or opportunities is welcome because we welcome it. We need it. So I think we should move on.
Yeah, we have about 45, 50 minutes left. So if any new topics want to rise, please come forward.
Hey, David.
So I just wanted to come plug Perry's program. Perry Drift does a language table every Thursday. And yeah, I'm guilty. I don't go since golf started. Golf is I go and do golf on Thursdays. But like with all the other culture stuff, the attendance could be better. But I just want to say that Perry has that language table every Thursday. I know there are 2 ladies that go right now and they bring their kids with them. And it's just good to see how much they've learned from that program. So I just want to say, as tonight, coming out here tonight, I was just curious what the meeting was about. I think maybe this kind of resonated with a lot of people, just curiosity of what the tonight would bring. But when I was attending, that's what we were saying about the language table. The room should be like this. It should be filled with people. But I just want to commend Perry for bringing that. And I know Jay has come there a couple times and helped. And if it does get this big, we might need more people to help teach that language. So if you guys know anyone that knows the language, and if we ever get the room this size, we might need more people that could help Perry and Jalen. Like I said, I just wanted to plug Perry's program. I think he does it in Vermillion on Tuesdays as well. I'm not sure how that is attended. I haven't been up to this one, but thank you.
Big witch squidge for that.
I'd like to point out too that regarding the language, is that I've been asking for a meeting with the council and between our employees that deal with the language and the culture to try and formulate a game plan. One, to get more people to give them the opportunity to learn the language, also to preserve it, but also to get more fluent speakers because we're losing them so fast. Thank you.
Teresa.
I just wanted to comment. I think when Ashley was talking, somebody said, well, what would a call center, what's it for? So I think it's one of those things where you just have to decide that we're going to have high-speed internet, on the reservation. It'll be, available for all of their homes, and finding a niche where we could potentially have people calling and utilizing our individuals and our band members as support people, learning, I don't know if it could be language. Somebody could call up and say, well, I need to know about this. And then, reinforcing that particular piece and answering people's questions. So, that was a very good suggestion. Thank you, Ashley.
Jay.
Well, so just to clarify on the language table, we do have one on Tuesdays over here in Vermillion. It's usually about at 5 or 5:30. We had to stop, or we decided to stop doing that because after probably 4 or 5 weeks, there ended up being nobody that came. And at least for the time since then, we haven't been able to have a language table. So if anybody's interested, we can start up again. Just reach out to Perry. He also provides a virtual option. So if you don't feel comfortable going in person to the classes, you can hop on Zoom that way. And then I did see Shannon's comment basically saying that we should have more outreach to language wise to the urban offices. We have been trying to reach out to like Jackie and Wendy to get language classes taught at the urban offices, and we have funds to pay for a teacher. The issue that kind of comes up is that we're not able to we're kind of having Jackie and Wendy choose or help us reach out to band members that are willing to teach. And that's kind of been the hang up, is that we haven't been able to find anybody that's willing to teach. Because I know that I think we get hung up quite a bit on dialect, too much, in my opinion, but because we get so hung up on dialect, it's hard to find teachers for the language in those areas. But if anybody knows anybody, reach out to myself or Perry or Jackie or Wendy, and they can get in touch with us, and then we can start providing classes. We also, at least for the urban office areas, we have funds also for gas cards. So if anybody wants to get to those classes and doesn't have the funds to do so, we'll be providing gas cards for them. And we gotta look at flexing some money, but we should be able to pay for food as well. Because I know it's kind of hard to commit, especially if you have a family, to be able to feed them outside of going to class. But those are just some updates, I guess, and to answer Shannon's question online.
Thank you, Jay. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Jay. I think I've said. Oh, your phone. My phone?
I was just gonna suggest the Boys and Girls Club, having more activities for the children in our community already, like the resources are already here. If they could have more funding to do, going down to Duluth for zoo, they already have the transportation part of the piece, but they don't go anywhere. The children just kind of mingle around the center, which I think the education of the language could be presented down there, even summer school, to keep the development of their teachings there too.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I was just going to make a small comment that, that I do think that if the tribal council utilized your language program, your culture program, if we went to all of, if we went to these events, if the 5 of us and our executive director planned our day out at least once a month, we should be investing in some of these programs and going to these, splitting them up between the 5 of us. And then more community people would be able to, be comfortable. They'd see that leadership is invested. And then that's how you build that community, rather than us telling you, you need to show up. That's what I think.
There is a comment online about considering opening Head Start on Fridays again. It's very hard being a working parent and finding childcare for just Fridays. No daycares will accept children for 1 day a week. I know there are problems with enrollment, and a huge part of that could be a direct result of the closures. So there is, we are trying to recruit more people or more kids for our Head Start program. There are certain quotas that we need to meet. We'll relay that to Christine, who's here. She's aware of the Friday issue and whatever. I just want to mention that, because time is going by quite fast, the Judicial Department put some flyers on your tables with regards to warrants and some codes that you can scan for. Melissa, are you here? Oh, do you want to get up to the mic and maybe explain those a little bit? Melissa's our judicial director, and so she's been working hard at tribal court. And so, Melissa, you want to explain your flyers a little bit?
Yep. So on the tables, we have just some information on the sex offender registry. We do have a website that lists everybody that's registered within our jurisdiction. And so community members can go on there and view that at any time, and also sign up for community notification alerts. So as new people come and register with us, you would get an automatic email sent to you notifying you of that change. And so there's, the QR code is there for you to be able to use your smartphones or just logging into the website. And then we do have a strategic plan in progress right now. We are developing our strategic plan for the tribal justice team. And so the other flyer is just our survey. We want to hear from the community on how the court can improve and what you guys have concerns about. And so take that, minutes or two to fill that out for us, that's really valuable information. We want to hear the community side on how we can improve. I do have paper copies here available if someone wants to fill that out, because I know sometimes not everyone's tech savvy. But we are looking at improving the courts and improving how we communicate with our community, so. And if you have questions, let me know.
Thank you, Melissa. On your agenda is a sex offender registry. I just want everybody to know that prior to COVID, we were starting to have community meetings because the council drafted a resolution saying that sex offenders could not be within so many feet of a public playground, children's playground or school. Well, that amount of footage or that area is almost all of Bois Forte Reservation. And so law enforcement has been running into issues with that because we've had people who have been sex offenders for over 30 years that have not reoffended. And does that mean that they have to leave the reservation? So the council has put on hold that resolution because we were starting to have community meetings about what does a community feel about having sex offenders in their communities, and maybe what do you want to see with that? Oh, a hand is up in the back. Is that on the sex offender registry?
Darren.
Darren. Go ahead, Darren.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, what kind of community meetings have you had for the this to get information from the public about this?
Right now, we're restarting this information because we put it on hold prior to COVID. And then when COVID happened, we quit having a community meeting. And so right now there is nothing in place for sex offenders that are by playgrounds or whatever, but we wanted input from community on that. So we'll probably be having more meetings now that Melissa's new at the judicial to get the community's input on what they would like to see with regards to the resolution that's on hold with the sex offenders. So
Okay. How long ago did you put that resolution on hold?
prior to COVID.
And it's been that long, and we haven't had any movement or discussion on
No,
that
because
topic.
we couldn't meet as a community because of COVID. That's why we're bringing
Oh.
it up again tonight to renew those talks.
Okay. Are you guys looking in the future to schedule more community meetings?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to put it on everybody's radar for that. The other comment I want to make is on the draft leasing policy. That is set to, comments are still open for that, and it ends on July 31st, 2023 for the draft leasing policy. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Melissa.
Per our code, we will be having community meetings when we have a registered sex offender coming to move on to the reservation. We'll be starting those back up. And so again, kind of keep your eyes open, and we'll probably post it on social media and stuff. That's part of our code rules that we host a community meeting notifying when someone's moving on to the reservation.
Thank you, Melissa. There's a question on here about land use section 184 for home construction loans. I know that there's been tribal members that have had difficulty with section 184 loans. Kim, who can we contact at regarding the section 184 loans?
Section 184 loans is a HUD program that is kind of a loan guarantee for loans to Native Americans on Native American leased lands. You have to find a sponsored bank, and the only two that I know of in Minnesota off the top of my head is the MCT Housing Corporation and Woodlands Bank, owned by Mille Lacs.
Okay.
But remember, we also went to Citizens Potawatomi Nation in Oklahoma, and I want to say it was the Sovereign Bank. They do section 184 loans, and they will loan to any Native American 184 loan that qualifies. There is a lot of requirements to it, though.
Okay. if a band member is having difficulties, do they have a contact there? Like say Woodlands, is there certain people that they should talk to?
I would call and talk to the loan officer about 184 loans.
Okay.
And I know they're kind of stringent. I haven't talked to anyone who's applied lately, but like, even if you have like, is it one late payment in the last year, you're not qualified.
They're strict?
You know, even if it's just a day late or something.
Okay,
And those are HUD regulations, I believe.
okay. All right, thank you.
I would love to speak on this.
What's that?
184, is that also reservation management Turner?
Yeah, because of the banking turnover, like around 2009, their banks aren't lending to people on leased lands for the most part, unless if you get a unsecured, loan that's not a mortgage. And it's not just to to people on, Native Americans on native land, but you do have to be enrolled in a Native American tribe and leased land, But actually the 184 loans can be for off reservation too. Yeah, and I think someone in the audience has a
Yeah,
comment,
this
but
is,
I don't know.
And
I
just
would
add
love
on
to
that,
speak on
Kim,
this.
When we met with the Department of Commerce, I brought that up, that our band members can't get loans from the banks like the other Minnesotans can. I said, that's a problem because your banks and credit unions claim to be an equal opportunity lender when you're not. Thank you.
Okay, was there a comment on there?
I believe somebody was trying to speak
I
on
would
that.
like to be able to speak on
Okay,
this.
Karina.
Yes,
Karina, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Let me try put that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. I have my stuff. I'm sorry, I'm remote today, wasn't able to be there, but this HUD 184 loan I am so ultimately familiar with. So I just wanted to share my information. Kim is definitely correct where you cannot have one single late payment for 2 years. And I've struggled trying to use Woodland or the Minnesota Chippewa tribe to get a loan for my situation. And I don't qualify because I don't fall under the categories. So their rules are very, very strict and it makes it difficult. So an alternative is the First Tribal Lenders in Oklahoma. And Kim, I don't recall what you just mentioned for the company in Oklahoma. Can you tell me again?
It's Sovereign Bank.
Sovereign Bank.
Okay. I have not spoken with them, but the First Tribal Lenders, they claim to tell me that they have 86% of the loans in the United States, that they are a little bit easier to go through. But that is definitely a problem that I've been working with for multiple years. So I just want to let you know that First Tribal Lenders is an option, and if anybody has any questions about it, I can certainly help them.
Great, thank you. And then we also found out recently that USDA, correct, Kim? Will do home loans as well, USDA?
There's certain parts.
Certain parts of USDA, okay.
I'm not aware of that, but I will tell you that traditional banks like US Bank and Wells Fargo and things like that, they will not loan anybody anything on the reservation because we're dealing with leased lands.
Okay, Teresa, and then we're gonna have a wild rice update from Chris Holm on the dam and the wild rice after Teresa.
I just attended a self-sufficiency training over, actually through Nahasda the last couple of days. And one of the things that they had mentioned was that, utilizing the resources that we already have on the reservation and then, the 477 program and the different areas of financial assistance, in the financial assistance strategies, helping people understand what it is that they need to put in line in order to become a homeowner, in order to get those kind of loans, is part of something that we should be putting in place as well. So that we have more of a progress towards self-sufficiency. And that means, you know, letting people know what resources are available, where they can get that training, where they can get that home buyer training. You can get those through the banks and things like that. But we could put those in place too, in just, you know, giving people those steps and pointing them in the right direction. So kind of like an informational resources that I lost my train of thought, but anyway, along that line.
Thank you, Teresa. Chris?
Just a very quick update for the rice for you and the dam. The dam is now completed. The construction crew was able to work over winter because conditions were such that they could excavate and dig. So they finished that up this spring. They did the final concrete work 2 weeks ago. It's functioning as it should. It's, I guess, what I call a lower profile dam than what you're used to. It's a stop log dam. It's functioning well. Water levels are about 1 foot to 1.25 foot low right now, at lower than peak. We'd like to see a little more water, a little more rain. But at the same time, the rice is coming up nicely and it's in flower stage and pollinating. So we don't want to see too much rain at this point in time because we don't want the empty hulls. So we're kind of in a touchy situation, but it's all good. The rice is looking fine. There's some nice rice beds coming and there's still a lot of rice even laying down, floating. It probably won't make it, but it looks at this point like a very promising year.
Thank you, Chris. Is it possible to get some drone shots of the lake so we can put on the website maybe? Or I'm not sure if that's possible with technology, but.
I believe Nick is going to have some drone pictures available real soon that we can post.
Great. The rice it looks green out there. That's all I can say. I don't know about the thickness of the patches, but there is rice coming up. So it does look really nice. Thank you, Chris.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Chris? Oh,
Right here.
when is your next conservation committee meeting? And then you'll probably need somebody to take care of the rice on the conservation committee to make those decisions. So you might want to recruit for that right now.
Right. Okay. The next conservation committee meeting is when? Conservation committee? Two weeks out, Damon says.
Thank you, Chris. And then with that, on your tables, I think the Conservation Committee or someone was notified about the bear sanctuary next to the Vince Schutte Bear Sanctuary. They have 300 registered bear. They know they have 300 bear there, and they're going to stop feeding them so much. And so on your tables are there is a bear hunt currently in the Conservation Code. And what you have on your tables is the resolution and the dates when that bear hunt was passed. And it's for non-Indians with guides, kind of like duck hunting, I guess. The same, you got to have guides to go get them. We do know that Grand Portage holds a spring and fall bear hunt for non-Indians on their reservation. And there's been some concern about deer population. There's been concern about bear coming on the reservation when they're not being fed, especially in the village. And I don't know about you guys, but I've seen more and more TV news about bear attacks, black bear attacks, brown bear attacks, not grizzlies, but other bear attacks and stuff. So the Conservation Committee has was aware that, just made aware that this bear hunt is in place. So Chris, do you want to mention anything about that or?
Well, yeah, we'd like community opinion and the ideas, and suggestions and direction. There are a lot of bears. The bears have increased substantially through the years. They are in the village. They do pose a safety issue, danger. We're concerned about that. We're sensitive that people are concerned about the bears as well. We have spent time talking to the state DNR about what they can do. Yes, ma'am.
I think instead of poaching them, that we can do the opposite of poaching and start layering them further out by setting up meat barriers and making trail back out into the wild instead of killing them. And one of that, we experiment.
Nikki, what do you want?
Our bears from.
I can't read it.
We have to shut down shootings for a while until they start returning back to loveliness. And that would be a better opportunity than killing something that's harmless that we prevented other than on that.
Darren has a comment and then Corey, I believe.
Actually, I had something from one of our elders too. I had something from one of our elders.
What?
I got this from one of our elders. No bear season, no wolf season, no non-natives hunting, fishing, or gathering. And for myself, when I received notification about the bear hunt, I sent an email to the tribal council. And I said, whether you leave it up to the conservation committee or if you're going to vote on it, I'm against it, period. The reason why I'm against the bear hunt is that because they are part of the clan system. They are sacred to us as Native people. Thank you.
Corey, did you want to say something?
100% agree with you.
Okay. Okay. You have to come to the mic. I'm sorry, you can. And then Chaz.
One other thing I'd like to say is our land out where we hunt is checkerboarded. And a lot of times I'm out there on my four-wheeler, people don't see me out there, but I see a lot of non-natives. I was wondering if it'd be possible to close our reservation, the boundaries of Boyce Fort, from people coming on because they own a little piece of land that was taken from the natives or bought from the natives years ago. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Corey. We'll check into that, but I don't know if that's possible because that is their property. But I'm not sure about the boundary issue, so that's a good question. Oh, wait, no. Chaz, he's cutting in on you.
Sorry about that, Chaz. Why don't we, all the land that was bought, if there's a way to find out what it was paid for years back, I think wouldn't be, why don't we offer them the same amount of money that they took from the native?
Good question. I bet we'll never find those documents when they.
If we don't,
purchase
why
that
don't we
land.
offer them something then?
Yeah.
So we can get this, yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Chaz.
Yeah, so bonjour, Genokishe condition cause speaking a zaga gun and doing ba magazine do damn. Yeah, so I'm a Boyce Fort band member, and I just want to say that I don't really agree with having, I'm not racist or anything, but having white people on our tribal lands hunting and gathering our resources. And if we open that up, we might as well just open up to having them rice on our lake as well. That's all I have to say. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Chaz. Carol? Go ahead, Elaine.
I'd like to say, the Minnesota Chippewa tribe recognizes a letter of descendancy for every Indian health service. So why can't our descendancy be out there hunting or gathering whatsoever? Why can't the Minnesota Chippewa tribe give them a letter?
Thank you, Elaine, for that comment. Darren, and Carol's going to speak first, Darren, then you're okay.
I just, I agree with the no bear hunting and all of that. But what I'm concerned about is we need to come up with some sort of plan for that walkway, that path from the Net Lake School to Public Works, because there are bear in there. And if we're going to have our young kids walking that, we need some sort of protection. I don't know what the, I don't know what the solution is, but if people have any ideas, throw them out. I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you. Darren?
All right. Well, I just wanted to make a comment on the bear situation. I think if we're going to have the bear sanctuary open right next to the reservation, I don't think it's fair that we hunt them, because we're drawing them in unnaturally, and then hunting them would be, it's awful because they're supposed to have a sanctuary. And then as for white people hunting on the reservation and stuff, I thought us as Native American people, we shared. A lot of us aren't even more than half Native American. Does that make us white then? We're trying to build a community here for people to live in. And if we exclude white people, which a lot of employees, family members are white, I think that's very wrong in trying to, people argue it's our sovereignty. It's our sovereignty. We get to choose what people or who gets to hunt and gather here. We're not losing any sovereignty. We're building a community. That's all.
Thank you, Darren. Millie?
Well, I want to make about 3 comments, but the first one, I have a copy of that resolution number 4483. I found it on the table over there where I was sitting.
Yes.
And there's a whole bunch of whereases and whatever. Modify the season on fox, modify set fees for non-Indian hunters to hunt bear on the reservation at $50. Set or modify ruffled grouse limit. And then therefore be it resolved, the committee concurs with the recommendations of the Bois Forte Conservation Committee, section 3701, effective 12:01 a.m., September 15, 1982. Is that what we're all talking about?
That's what's in place right now, yes. The papers on your tables is what is currently in effect.
Okay, and then the other one is minutes of a special meeting of the Bois Forte Reservation Business Committee held 2 November 1978.
Yep.
At the TP Center in Net Lake. And it's a lot of it is redacted. If this isn't here, season bear, section 3401, season bear. The taking of bear is permitted at any time or place except at the dump grounds, village limits, and residential areas, except that the non-resident, non-Indians are permitted to take bear only during the last 21 days of October. A resident Indian guide must accompany a non-resident, non-Indian bear hunter. That's what it says in the minutes. Now, my third comment is about those bears that come. At Wickow's house, and I kind of did a dumb thing. I planted fruit trees in her yard. My mom planted fruit trees in our yard. Years ago, there was a blowdown back around. I live down in Pineview now, but there was a blowdown in that Frog Pond area down there, and so the way those trees fell, it creates a natural cave for those bears. And for the last, I would say, 8 out of the last 20 years that we've lived there, a mother bear, and she usually has twin cubs, have been making their home in there. And they used to come and trap them and take them away. See, 2 years ago, I could hear a bear outside near my garden, which dummy, I made a garden. And so I went out on the porch to try and holler at it to make it go away. And when I looked down right in front of on my porch or by my porch, the bear's back reached the top of my railing. And I was standing there and my door had already shut. But when I just kind of try to like be like my dad says, be cool, calm and collected. So I just kind of start talking away to that bear and told him he better get going. And so he start walking away. And oh, I dearly love to have been able to run inside the house and call on the phone, but fortunately he kept on going. And then when he reached the corner of the house, he didn't go this way where I thought he would go, heading back out the village. He went around, and I don't know where he went to from there, but back of my house is the other side that goes to where goes up and around the long way. But I live at the edge that's by the highway. And where that bear was heading was that little area, that Frog Pond area, and then up to the school. And I think that's what they're talking about when the school kids are walking. And it's not only the bears that are kind of cause a problem, it's birds. Those, I don't know if they're swallows. I've been trying to get a picture of them because I was told that they were them then to try and get rid of those birds. So that area down there, it's not just the bears, it's birds. And now we're starting to, I've seen fox during the winter time. I posted a picture of those tracks and someone told me that those were lynx tracks, and those are right in front of my house. So it's I don't remember seeing all that kind of animal stuff when we were growing up and running around barefoot and stuff. So we really need to do something.
Thank you, Millie. Jay?
I think the whole conversation is really good to have, and I think it's more complicated than we think. I mean, the idea that some of what people have said about like no natives and kind of subscribing to the idea of whether or not they're enrolled or descendants and stuff, that can get kind of tricky. My personal thoughts on it is I don't like the idea of blood quantum, enrollment criteria that way, but like say lineal descendancy is a different thing where maybe they're part of the community or they've lived here for a number of years, and it's not a fault of their own that they weren't born with enough blood quantum, like arbitrary blood quantum, to be enrolled or anything like that. And so now we're restricting them to not being able to hunt and do the things that we have. And I guess, obviously I'm a little bit biased when with Laney coming up here, where like we have Nathaniel being able to hold a eagle staff or a flag at our powwows and being an arena director, but then we're not allowing him to hunt and stuff. It seems a little contradictory to me. The other things that I just kind of wanted to say is a little bit more off topic, but I was thinking about like the language and culture type of things, and I wanted to give a shout out to Chaz. I didn't realize he was in the room, but he brought it into my head. But he has a kind of a drum teaching kind of class that goes on. It's on a weekly basis, I believe, and it's going throughout the summer. And it's going to all the different range towns around. And so tomorrow, I think it's at 4:30 or 5 over in Chisholm at the elementary park. They're having one. Eventually they're going to come to Vermilion, but given that, trying to give a shout out to Chaz. And I think that's, the conversation is good, but I do think that, and also, I guess I wanted to also say too, that I think it's worth noting that Vince Schuttes isn't a tribally owned operation. I think I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like their own nonprofit, and they're also not, in the reservation. They don't, the road that comes to Vince Schuttes doesn't go within the reservation. So there becomes like more of an issue with like jurisdiction and working with them. And I think they definitely need to be doing a better job of working with the tribe. And maybe there's a little bit of more of an effort that we need to be making with them. But yeah, I think that just needs to be said, that it's not a tribally owned thing. And then the road, even to get there, doesn't pass within the reservation boundaries, or is it a tribally owned road? So there's just kind of issues that kind of limit us to what we can do. And then the last thing I wanted to ask, and this is just because I don't actually know, one of my friends, he's enrolled in Grand Portage, and I know there's a certain ceremony, kind of like a coming of age type of ceremony, where they go and hunt for bears. And I didn't know if that was something that we used to have here, and maybe we don't have. But one of the things that he got with, so one of the ways he got his bear claws for part of his regalia is that he went out, and one of his family went out and was able to harvest the bear. And, like there's all these medicines that come from it, and that's why it's such a high priority in our clan system, and why we care for it so much. But I didn't know if that was a thing here or not. So I just wanted to raise the question if anybody in the room has an answer to that. I'm just curious.
Doris, before you can speak, Karen wants to talk. Is she over there?
Four.
No, can Karen? Oh, okay. First.
Bonjour. I'd like to say something about the bears. First of all, everybody in here has a clan. I don't know if you're Bear Clan or Wolf Clan, all them kinds. There's a lot of clans. But out of the animals, the bear is the most important one. He's the chief of the clans. His boss is the turtle. Bears are aggressive and want to make sure things are done in our Anishinaabe way. And this I got from a lady friend. She said, whatever befalls the bear befalls the people. Not just, just as, okay, that's a different. And Makwa is our brother, your brother, sister. And my friend there, she said, Makwa should have lands to be how the creator intended. And I'm not Bear Clan, I'm Caribou Clan, but all my kids are Bear Clan. And they are never to hurt a bear or eat bear meat, or they're supposed to be very respectful to the Makwa. And say if your dad and mother, you still have a clan, but if you have like a non-Indian father, you go with the eagle, and your mother will stay the same. And and you can find, if you don't know your clan, you can find out what your clan is by going to a person, at a medicine man or whoever, and they'll tell you what your clan is. But I'm really against killing bears. I although, you know, it ain't my clan, but it's, it was my husband's clan, so all of our kids go with him. They go with the father. But that's all I wanted to say, that if we hurt the bear, something will happen. And we better believe that something we're gonna pay now or later. Miigwech, kagibis and dawayeg.
Miigwech, Karen. Doris?
Well, this has been promised to be a very controversial topic, and it's been very interesting. The Conservation Committee, which I'm sit on, heard this, went over this proposal to implement bear hunt according to the resolution that was adopted. And one of the things that the committee decided was that we needed to hear what the people said. And so we wanted to have a community meeting, and we knew this meeting was happening. And so then we decided to bring it forward at this meeting. Being on the Conservation Committee is, you know, to address this issue has been a difficult one. You know, everybody has their own feelings. I think mostly, basically, everybody doesn't want to kill the bear. They respect the bear, and they would rather not have a hunting season. But there's also a lot of people that approach the Conservation Committee that do want a bear season. And so we're hearing both sides. And so we need to look at both sides. And one of the reasons we've heard that we know of that there is a reason for managing the bear at this point, thanks to Shooties Bear Sanctuary. You know, the land that the sanctuary owns is about a mile off from our reservation. As the crow flies through the woods, the bear sanctuary is buying up all that land, and I forget how much they've purchased so far, but it's like around 600 acres that they've owned, and they have the support of the legislature. And so we can't do anything to the bear sanctuary to impose any kind of rules. You know, they have their own board, and that's what they go by. The number of bears they have out there is a huge number that isn't sufficient to support the bear living in harmony with other animals, with our plants, with our berries. There's just too many bear. And as a result, they're killing our deer. And so if you look at last year, a lot of people haven't gotten their deer. My freezer is empty because there's no deer there. And so the bear are encroaching on our areas. And the Conservation Department gets many, many phone calls about bears in their people's yards. They have traps all the time, trapping bears, taking them out of the village. We've had elders that are scared to go outside because the bear are there under their window. You know, Millie says, you know, she talks about, I planted a garden, oh, dummy me. Why can't she plant a garden? We encourage people to live off the land. I myself had a bear that caused $2,500 damage to my car by him trying to get into my car. I can't leave my barbecue grill on my deck. I have to put it in the garage to keep it away from the bear. And so I think I understand, being a traditional person myself, that we don't kill the bear. And that's one of the reasons I suspect that the older tribal leaders who are much wiser than I am were seeing the future and said, well, we're not going to make our band members kill their own clan member. And that's why they established this guiding season. And I believe that's why Grand Portage has their guide season. So a non-Indian would be the person that was killing the bear. And the Indian person wouldn't have to do that themselves. And so I think that's why it was set up that way. Anyway, this is a controversial subject. I know it's not the end of it right now. There's not going to be a decision made tonight, I'm sure. And I just want to say that I appreciate everybody's comments. And I hope that you will take a step back and not feel anger towards either myself or the Conservation Committee, but just understand the position that we're in, that we have to make a decision, and understand the position that the Tribal Council is in, that they have to address this issue. Because the last thing any of us want is a bear to attack and hurt, maul, or kill a child who is trusting that bear who has been accustomed to human beings. They are no longer scared of us the way they used to be. And so that puts us in danger. Just last week, I don't know if anybody know that I have a little Maltese, and he was outside on his leash to go to the bathroom, and then he just started barking and going crazy, and he was ready to take on that big bear. So I go outside, and that bear was not more than 12 feet from my porch, and he ran up a tree. And so that's how close they get. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Doris. David, and then we got Darren.
Okay, sorry, I just wanted to go back to the ricing subject. So I just want to hear what your guys' thoughts and everyone has band members' thoughts of Boys Fort. So I know last year we didn't rice because of the weather. And 2 years ago we were able to rice, but then it was the drought. So we kind of had our time 2 years ago. So I know 2 years ago, there was some band members that were saying that they're going back to sell their rice to Fond du Lac so they could reseed. But I don't think that's right. I think, there should be an agreement with us as Boys Fort band members saying, no, when you get your rice, you have to agree, you're not going to sell it for reseeding purposes. Because I know when I did work with the DNR, we did reseed that rice across from Spirit Island there. That rice bed, we did reseed that, and it did grow. So I imagine, if Fond du Lac's buying our rice, those spirits probably know, they're like, oh, well, if they're gonna do that with our rice, let's take it away from them. So I just think, I don't know if that'd be a council decision, DNR decision, or Conservation Committee decision, just to have an agreement in place where these guys can't go back to Fond du Lac and sell our Boys Fort rice for Fond du Lac's reseeding purpose. That's just something I wanted to bring up, and because I didn't think that was right when I heard that.
Miigwech, Squidge, go ahead, Tara.
The squidge, I believe it's already in the code for that. It's just enforcement would have to happen. Benoon, well, I have a comment on the bear, back to the bear, but I also sent an email to the council about the bear, so I'll read that later. Go ahead, Benoon.
Go ahead, Darren, then Benoon.
Oh, I was just hoping
Okay, my name is
in the future
Margaret,
that
and I am from the Bear Clan.
Hang on,
I would
Darren.
like to comment on the Bear Clan and also make comments from what Karen said and what I truly believe.
on the Anishinaabe Way. Okay, so I do not live on the reservation, so I don't know. When I go up to visit my sisters, I do see the bears. From my belief is that whatever clan that you are from, those are your protectors. And I believe there's probably a lot of bear clan that live on the reservation. I think, and I agree with Karen that if the bears are starting to be killed, and I truly believe this because I've seen it, you have something will happen to that person. One of the other things I guess I wanted to suggest is that have all the elders been asked about what to do with this situation? You know, get different ideas. This is my first time attending a community meeting like this, and I find it very interesting, you know, that you can get the band members up here and, you know, say what's on their mind or whatever. So I do like this. And anyway, back to the bear. My suggestion would be to contact your spiritual advisor and seek guidance and listen to that person. I truly believe in the Native American way, where you go to a medicine man and you ask them, you know, say you have a sick person. I've had a sick person in my life. And what we've done is we approached a medicine man. And you guys all know who I'm talking about, my nephew, Brandon. And he was not supposed to, he outbeat all these doctors and what they said and everything. And so we approached and did the Indian medicine for him. That Indian medicine is very powerful, very strong, but we need to believe that, you know, people need to believe in that and practice their Anishinaabe ways, their traditional ways and everything. You know, that's what I believe. A couple other comments. I know I wanted to get up before when everybody else was commenting, and this is not to point fingers at anybody. Like I said, this is my first community meeting that I've ever attended. And I guess because I live off the reservation, it's not that I don't pay attention to what is happening up there. Where I get my information is from Shane Drift's page and other people that kind of post. That's where I keep, or if I go home and visit my sisters, then I get information there. So one of the things I wanted to point out was as far as the Evelyn C store. I'm not sure how you guys run your meeting or where you get things to put on your agenda or anything like that, you know. But one thing that I noticed was band members that live off the reservation, like myself. I didn't get that information until after the fact. And then I watch. I'm a people watcher. And so I watch. And then pretty soon we start getting these surveys about that. The same goes for like the smoke shop. I mean, I just live in Virginia and here's Fortune Bay up here. I had no clue anything about that. So I guess one of my suggestions is maybe try inform the band members more about what the tribal council is voting on, talking about. Like I said, this is a very good meeting. I think so. The other thing is, Oh, they talked about the nursing home. This is one thing I've talked personal with one of the tribal council members. And I truly believe that instead of investing in a gas station or something, take care of the elders. I'm old. Maybe I want to come home sometime, you know? Or I'm sure I'm not the only elder that wants to come home, but there ain't nothing to come home to. As far as the treatment center, I have family members who are still in active addiction. And guess who puts up with that? The family members. And so I deal with that from day to day. You know, I would love to see a treatment center being built. You know, focus things on what is going to help our people, not the people like in Eveleth. If that gas station or whatever would have went, we wouldn't be working there. And that's the truth. I believe that. One of the other things, since I'm up here, is I would like to see that elder committee back in place. The elder council. And the reason I say that is because all of us elders, and I'm including myself in that, we have wisdom we can share with you guys. And I believe that's how the reservation should actually truly run. Listen to your elders. Those are the main things that I want to talk about. I know we're not done, so I'll probably get back up here again. Thank you.
Miigwech Banoon. Darren?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great idea for the elders meeting. I think one problem before that they had was getting the elders to the meeting. But now, because COVID has happened and stuff, we need to utilize our technology and go to our elders, broadcast them, get them in a meeting. That would be wonderful. Which leads me to my next idea was if the conservation committee could broadcast and have an open forum like this is right now, because holding a meeting during the day at 2:00 when everyone's working, you're not going to get very much input from the community. So you got to be mindful of when you have these meetings, and we need to utilize our technology when we have these meetings. So if that's an option, that would be wonderful. Doris, if you could talk to the conservation committee about that. That's all.
I believe too, excuse me, Tony, I believe Millie Holmes is our new elder coordinator. Millie, do you want to talk about the elders committee? Because I believe you're trying to get that revamped.
Well, I was gonna wait till we got to the elder roundtable, that was on the agenda. Okay, well, I got hired in October of last year, and I gave my boss a year deadline that I wanted to get this elder committee going, and once I got it going, I was gone. I mean, because in case you guys haven't noticed, I got a story published in Germany, and so I'm going to be working on that. I got the Kickstarter copy of the book, and so my mind's kind of going on that. But the update on the elder activity committee, we finally found the bylaws. We found all the pertinent resolutions that had to deal with the elder committee. What I'm waiting on now is for Jeff Holt to do whatever legal stuff they have to do, and then we're going to present it to the RTC for their approval. Then we're going to call elder meeting, because we will be needing to elect officers And hopefully we'll have something in place by September. I'm leaving in October, hopefully on my way to Germany.
Thank you, Millie. So that's an update on the elders committee. So watch for that. Because I know that Millie was working on it and it sounds like the bylaws are at legal. So once those are done, watch for those, yeah,
Janan has her hand up.
watch for those postings for the elders committee. So get ready, elders. Janan?
Hi, everybody. This is Bill Isham.
Oh,
I'm
Bill,
using
sorry.
Yeah, I'm using my wife's thingy there. Yeah, I'd like to speak a little bit about the Bears. I've been working for DNR for 15 years. I've lived here for 53, almost an elder. Working here for 15 years, being on the conservation committee for 12 of those, knowing we had the bear sanctuary out there and the numbers they were getting and what they were actually admitting to, I think they're the ones that are causing all this infighting or our disagreements, because I don't want to kill any bears. If we kill bears, we're going to go to hell. I mean, we shouldn't be doing that. I'm Turtle Clan. I'm not Bear Clan, but I understand how that works. And I don't want to see any kids hurt that are walking to school or trying to walk out to public works or out to the buses or whatever. But working with state DNR, I've been in meetings with them, the head lady. I've been in meetings with the bear sanctuary. The head lady at the state DNR, she said there's nothing they can do. They're a 401c3. They're allowed to feed all the bears they want. The bear sanctuary, sitting in the meetings with them, they gave us a dart gun. They gave us an old beat up bear trap. And as the bear population was getting worse and getting worse and getting worse, they all they told us was, well, you do what you got to do. So to me, they're just looking at money. They're not worried about the spiritual problems that we're going to have, the deaths of our kids, the property damage, and our spirituality of having to shoot them. I myself too don't want a bunch of non-natives running around in our woods, but this community meeting, we got to try and figure out what we can do so we don't infight, so we can take care of the problem without turning and looking the other way and then having someone's kid or grandkid mauled or eaten. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Jay?
Have we reached out to them? I guess I didn't know that, but have we?
You know that I was the previous DNR director. I've had several meetings with them, and invited them up. And I don't want to embarrass this council, but Tony, you remember that. How much did we harp on that and go and go and go? And the council, we were sitting there talking like this, and you guys were gone. And there I was talking, and I was kind of embarrassed because there we were and the council was gone, and we were talking to the bear sanctuary, ready to give them hell. And there was nothing we could do. But I do have, after your comment, I'd like to read the email. You know what the email is.
Yes,
Bill,
ma'am.
because you've seen it.
Yes. I'm Conservation Officer Tony Mason from Boys Fort. I'm not here to sway one way or the other. But I would like to say that I have had a meeting with the state DNR and the bear sanctuary. The bear sanctuary admitted they have up to 300 bears. There's supposed to be 3 to 5 bears per square mile. How many square miles is Boys Fort? Chris? Huh? 115,000 square miles. Far exceeding what it's supposed to be. They're encroaching in our homes, in our life. The state of Minnesota, they used to, for quite a while in this area alone, they would bring their bears to Finch Shooty Bear Sanctuary or drop them off in Net Lake. They no longer do that anymore because state has changed their protocol on how they are taking care of their bears. There's 2 options. The homeowner can dispatch that bear
if they choose to do so, if it is doing damage to their home or causing harm to their family or whatever it is. If the DNR state game wardens come, the state game wardens will dispatch that bear. I've been here for almost 2.5 years. I've trapped 29 bears. That is not counting the ones that I unfortunately had to dispatch for unfortunate circumstances. I'm here to uphold the law for Boys Fort, and to give my insight of what I see out in the woods. We shot less than 30 deer last year. Haitian family was 20 people. They would probably have shot, Pete himself would have shot that for his family back in the day. That has to be acknowledged. That has to be accepted, because we are in very poor times right at this particular time. Not everybody has a $100,000 job. Heck, a lot of people don't even have a $50,000 job. Do they have the money to go out there and buy that 6-7 pounds of hamburger? Do they have the gas money to get to town to go get that hamburger? My biggest question is this. I am the conservation officer in Boys Fort. I have heard say that people don't like to dispatch their pets because it's bad mojo or karma, or it's bad. But they'll call the conservation officer to do that. So the same thing I can say about this bear. If a bear comes and hurts your child, I'm the one that's gonna get that first call. And I gotta see that. Or they're gonna say, what are you gonna do about this bear? And I unfortunately have to dispatch that bear. So when my time comes, when I go away and I have to answer that call, I have to explain why that happened. And that's my job. Is that a good answer? Are we doing the right thing as a community by making the right decisions based on I get 8 to 10 calls sometimes a day on bears, just on bears alone. That means there's an issue. And how are we I hope that our problem solving isn't to call Tony up and Tony, you can take care of this bear. How you do it, we're okay with how that is, as long as I don't know how you do it. That doesn't seem very good problem solving. I'm not saying I know the answer, but I'm saying I hope that's not what all y'all Boys Fort band members want from me, because that's not fair to any conservation officer or a law enforcement officer. I appreciate your time, everybody here tonight, and I appreciate everybody's opinion on what they have of it. And I believe in all of it. I just want a plan for the people that go out and hunt, for the people that live in town that don't hunt, whatever clan you are. Be good.
Thank you, Tony.
I'd like to say, add on to that. Thank you for what you're doing, Tony. I know there's been times that I've called you because a band member called me with a bear problem. And I turned and called you and then you responded. So thank you for that. I remember back in the 80s, we had a bear problem, but it wasn't bad as it is now. But the difference between back in the 80s and now is that back in the 80s, our dogs weren't tied up. Where are the dogs? They're all tied up now. They can't roam like they used to. Now, even though I'm against a bear hunting, I'm against it. However, that doesn't mean I'm against people defending their family. If a bear comes into your yard or gets after your kids or you, then if I'll say defend yourself. Defend your family. There's a difference between the two. Common sense. Thank you.
Go ahead, Tara.
Okay, I just wanted to read an email that I sent to the council. Geez, what was this, just last week or a week and a half ago? We need to put pressure on the state to intervene, especially since the state DNR won't act or touch the subject. The state DNR is not helping us with this bear. They need to introduce legislation to manage the bear sanctuaries, and I in quotes, sanctuaries. I don't think it's a sanctuary, it's a bear farm. Especially as it relates to tribal reservations, natural resources, and lack of operational and capacity resources to keep up with the unnatural and overpopulation of bears here. Now, a bear hunt is being introduced by our natural resources and possibly backed by Conservation Committee. This seems to be a desperate attempt at management of the bear. I think there is a direct correlation between the overpopulation of bear and our lack of deer. My theory is the fawns are being taken as soon as they drop or soon after they drop. And then there's sows who are suckling 5 new bear cubs. And they need to meet their nutrition needs. So they're going after something that's easy pickings, fawns. And because they do that with moose also. And the nutrition value, possible antibodies and natural immunity that new fawns carry may be of value to that bear or new bear cubs. The Vince Schutte Bear Center and the state of Minnesota need to be accountable for what's happening at Bois Forte. They may try to say that predation by wolf is a factor. It may be. But I almost think it's too late for a bear, wolf, and deer study. We already know it's affecting us. We don't need to be studying now. We're beyond that. I talked with a colleague, Seth Moore, up in Grand Portage, and he recently talked about their bear hunt. He gave me some information. He is, he's pro bear hunt, and so is Grand Portage. But he's willing to come up here and help us explain a little bit about bear hunts and that kind of thing. But I want to know more about that predation. What else did I say? I'm not totally sold on this bear hunt because I feel that the Vince Schutte Bear Center is forcing us into that corner. Just some thoughts that I'd like to relay. You all know how I feel about this subject. The council knows that I feel very passionate about this subject as a former DNR director. And I've been battling this for a long time. And that sanctuary needs to be held accountable, and so does the state of Minnesota.
If I could add in, last week we had a meeting with our lobbyist, Reed LeBeau. And we brought up Tara's comments regarding the, Tara mentioned the bear sanctuary. And so legislatively, we will be trying to look at something legislatively that probably is going to take some time. But at least we'll be approaching the issue with the state and the DNR department. So just so you know that after her email, we did get in touch with our lobbyists. So that's something we'll be working on in the upcoming legislative session. So we have comments from Chief, Darren, and then Jay.
Bonjour. Am
Go
I
ahead,
on
Chief.
first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I was just
Bonjour.
talking, I was just listening to you guys talk about that, the bear problem. And yeah, we did meet with the sanctuary a couple times, I believe, when I was on council. And that's a tough one to address because when I was growing up, we did have bear meat at some of the ceremonies. We did have bear meat in the grease. The fat from the bear was used in our hair. So yeah, we did utilize the bear meat. One of the other issues is I'm kind of upset that is it going to take for one of our kids to get hurt for that? They say what's the number they told you guys? 500, 300? Well,
300.
300. Okay. That's unrealistic number. I mean, because there's more bears than that. We know that just from what comes into the village. And people are right when they see a mother bear with 4 cubs. That's wrong. That's unnatural. But there is solutions, and I brought I do believe I brought it up at a council meeting one time or maybe with the sanctuary, the option of chemical castration for the bears to limit them, not to kill them or anything, but to limit the number of young cubs that are being born every year. And I believe that's our best option is chemical castration. Simple, takes a little bit of work and some training by maybe Mr. Mason or our law enforcement officers to learn how to do this. And, it's a simple thing. Maybe we shoot them with something and that's, I don't know. I'm trying to look it up right now as we're talking, but anyway, if I find out more information, I'll bring it to the council. And I appreciate your time and effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Heart Warrior, and then we'll go with Darren and Damon. Jay, are you gonna, okay. Go ahead, Heart Warrior.
Yeah, I was thinking about, say what he just said, chemical castration. Well, it's really abnormal. I saw a mother bear this spring with 5 cubs. And that's when I lived up on Basswood Lake when I was a little kid, for a mother bear to even have 2 cubs was considered abnormal. And I think that we have to look at the water. What are they drinking? One of my uncles used to come in snockered up. I lived with him for a little bit, and he'd say, there's one thing the white man taught us, and that's how to craft in the house. And I used to think, why does he always say that? That's really, but it's true. The Indians never put anything in the water, ever. That's why they were disease free. Now there's a new disease every other day because people are crapping in water. And not only are they doing that, but all the chemicals that they take into their body are going into the water. Birth control and everything else. So I think that we really, really have to look at the water and make sure that nothing is flowing in there that doesn't belong there. Because all the creatures will pay for that besides people. And I think that may be why, and besides whatever they're eating at Shooties, why they're having so many cubs. It's unnatural. And we have to get to the bottom of that. And then I think if you want to be proactive as a band, that you could enter legislation to recognize the rights of the animals and the birds.
Make which, Heart Warrior, Damon? Oh, Darren, I'm sorry.
I have a question, maybe Chris Holm or Tony can answer, but is the DNR taking any surveys of the deer population or the bear population on the reservation?
So as far as the deer population, we basically do it the same way the state of Minnesota does it. The way the state of Minnesota does it is they'll do the accumulation of their deer harvest for every year. And then they also account for roadkill deer as well. They put it, and there's a formula that you use. We could use a formula as that as well and use the last 20 years. And like I said, last year we got less than 30 deer. The year before that, we were at about 40 deer, but then we got like 6-7 inches of snow, and then Mother Nature laid off us a little bit, and everybody was able to get up to the wood duck, and there was probably about a 50 or 60. With that being said, in December, all your does are bred at that time. So if you shoot a doe, you're essentially potentially shooting 1 or 2 deer instead of just 1. So there's that as well. And the bears.
How about
the bears?
Yeah, the bears.
What we can use for the bear is the bear sanctuary. So we say there's 115,000 square miles, you add 600 acres to it. So you got 300 bears for 115,000 square miles.
Okay, do they take, do you guys take into account how many people like buy a hunting license and stuff like that?
For what, Darren?
To figure out the deer population and the deer harvest?
Yes, that's,
Say you,
that's exactly how it works. That's part of the formula. You know,
Okay.
and that, even, so even like, it's the same way 1854 will do it as well.
do we have any, evidence of the bears killing the fawns or, you know,
Oh,
disrupting?
absolutely. All right. So there's a study called the Penn study. And there's a study done of two almost identical land masses, the size of Boys Fort. One is 80% community, and the other one is is wooded, just very similar to what Boys Fort is. Where the greater community was, there was only a 15 to 20% deprivation mortality rate on the fawns. On the landmass that was similar to Boys Fort, the mortality rate just on the bears alone was 69% on fawns. 69%. That's not counting the wolves. Wolves add for another additional 49%. That's not counting for the moose either. So
the wolves and the bears have the same mortality rate for the deer?
no, bears have 69%.
Oh, 69. Okay.
For some reason, that new nice core math we have now, you have 49, and that it was 100%.
Okay, so the DNR's got the evidence that the bears are affecting the deer population. What's the DNR's plan or the council's plan to now that you have the evidence to bring forward? What's the next step?
This is the next step. We had the conservation committee meeting. And the resolution stated that there was already a bear season, but the conservation committee said that this is something that has to be brought forward, which it did and does, brought forward to the people of Boys Fort. And for this purpose right here. And then it's going to go.
Other than the bear hunt, what else is going on? Are we contacting legislatures, the Department of Natural Resources?
So in speaking with the state of Minnesota, Shelley Patton, and the conservation officer who is a Leech Lake band member, he's the Northeast Regional CO, Captain Scott Staples. We had a meeting with them. There is nothing with the bears nor the wolves that the state is going to do, especially with the bears. For I think 10 to 12 years, they've been trying to push a no feeding for bears, and if that would pass, legislation, then essentially Ben Shooters would be out of business. There's a downside to that. 300 bears are going to be in Boys Fort. All right, so you gotta watch what you wish for. So the problem is that legislation, and unfortunately Governor Walz, it's just, between the wolves and the bears, you got American Bear Association, you have all the wolf, they got millions of dollars into this legislation, and it's not going to pass right now. It's really unfortunate because Boys Fort is given a really bad hand. They're next to a place that I think they lost control of what they were trying to do. I think it was a great plan initially, and it is what humans tend to do, turn it into a big pile of poo. And this is what we got right now. And unfortunately, they're open for Tara 4 months. They're open for 4 months. We have to deal with them the rest of the time. Soon as sometimes spring happens in March, we see them running around. This year is a little bit later, obviously, but we got to deal with them the rest of the time. This year there's a lot of berries. Thank goodness for that. Last year there was no berries. Guess where they all were? Boys Fort. Yes. Well, I can guarantee you, well, you get me in trouble here, that, it depends how, hypothetically, if there's a season, I would propose, or we would talk about, two different ways, I guess. Being a strictly band member, or three ways, only band members, band members guiding, or do it the way a Grand Portage does it, which is a lottery for only non-unions to come in. And I believe there's 25 in the spring and 25 in the fall. Go ahead. Right, and we would actually ask more than that, because I think if it did happen, there would be a lot of potential bear hunters that would be stumbling over themselves to hunt here. It's the
had
same
one more
principles,
question,
you know,
too.
back in the day when there's a lot of people in here that can attest to this. Duck hunting was, and Nett Lake was the mecca of duck hunting. And I think it was just like ricing with people waiting to go duck hunting outdoors. You know, there's a lot of people out there. Duck hunting's a little bit different. The flight pattern moved, whatever the case is. Last year there was no rice, they left. It'd be similar to that for the bears. People like to hunt. Yes. So I had proposed, in the Conservation Committee, all knows that and this, of course, would be under the approval of everybody. There are areas that we probably would, I would assume that the RTC and the people would want, and it'd be, Geroy's Field, around those areas, first and foremost. And then you would go up from there. Good?
Tony,
Yes.
what about bear spray?
Say again.
Bear spray.
Bear spray, bear spray is, they associate it with, pepper spray and stuff. It might work and it might not. It's like when you're pepper spraying a person, some people just don't have an effect on you. You're like, oh shit, here we go. And it's unfortunate that it's a powerful animal, and if it's made up its mind what it's going to do, it's going to do what it wants to do. And some people may or may not know, but the most bear attacks isn't from a grizzly bear. It's not from a brown bear, and it's not from a polar bear. It's from a black bear. And it's actually not even close. Good, ma'am. Really didn't get that far. I know the Conservation Committee had asked me to kind of like put a couple scenarios together. And that would be presented. And I am a hunter, always have been. I don't know that. Oh, I can understand that if it was a band member, I wouldn't hunt one, and I wouldn't guide one either. But on the flip side of that, as being out there probably more than just about anyway, Bill Isham and Nick Buckholz and some of the other guys, there's not many more people out there than I am. I can honestly tell you that most hunters will come up to me and say, where are all the deer? We've got more wolf poop and wolf tracks and bears out here than we do anything else. And I say, we're working on it. We'll figure it out. We are a subsistence reservation, if I remember correctly. Our band members look forward for certain things: ricing time, deer season, duck season. What happened last year when the ricing got taken away was not a very good time for people. Worst time probably for the RTC. Got to answer whatever questions you have to answer for that. Alls I want and would like to see is, first and foremost, our community safe. And if we can stand here right now, all of us stand up and say our community is safe, Conservation Officer Tony Mason is good to go with that. But if we can't say that, then we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? The second thing is when the DNR is mentioning to people what the numbers are of harvested game, that has to be noticed. That has to be taken into account. I can look through the room here and I can see just about a lot of people that are out there that are hunting. A lot of gas miles. I know when I was a kid, when I lived out on this old school story time here on 65 at Lavity's there. I remember when I was a little kid, we'd drive from my place at Lavity's all the way to where Rhodes Garage, and there'd be nothing to see 15, 20 deer. You're lucky to see 15, 20 deer in months, if not a year. Is there any more questions? Thank you again.
Do you think that we need a separate meeting, a conservation meeting, of course, but do you think that we need a separate meeting for this, for the bear to discuss everything? Because, and the sanctuary needs to, well, we should meet first, and formulate a plan. You can help us, and the conservation committee can do that. And then we hold that bear sanctuary accountable, and not just zip, because then they'll be, totally shut them down. I introduced and I wanted a gradual, a gradual, so they go from 300 or 500 bear down to 100 or whatever they want, whatever their small amount. Because they say they're nonprofit. I call bull on that. They're not nonprofit. They might have that status, but more bear equals more money and more tourists. So I think we need a whole separate meeting, community meeting for this subject. Go ahead, Damon.
Bonjour, my name is Damon Day. I'm the Emergency Preparedness Director for Boys Fort. This is my second year next month. I also sit on a powwow committee. I also sit on a Johns Hopkins Research Committee. And I would like to say, as Emergency Preparedness Director, it is going to be an emergency with these bears coming into town. So we do have to have a plan. I'm asking the council, when you guys go to a state legislature for the meetings, do you include emergency preparedness? And for the powwow, the sexual offenders, Gene Goodsky once told me that's as a white man would say is their church. That's our church. They go to that place for healing, to feel safe, to feel part of the tradition, part of the community. Please consider, they are registered sex offenders. They did their time. They're in recovery, whatever. It's just, they come to the powwows for healing. Officer Mason had not mentioned that there's about 5 to 7 wolf packs out there also on the back of Boys Fort from here to Little Fork. Yeah, so I just want to include emergency preparedness in your plans on dealing with the bear. Also, I'm a first responder at the Boys Fort Ambulance. So if we ever get a call with a bear mauling a little kid or anyone in the community, it would be devastating. Thank you, Miigwech.
Miigwech, Damon.
Sorry, it's getting really long.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Teresa. No, go ahead.
Teresa, Knife Chief, and I just think about like the old days. If we had, because we have laws right now, because we have officers and because we have tribal chairmans and, committees and things like that, back in the old days, if there was a problem in our community, it would be the elders who would decide on those type of things. And then we wouldn't kill a bear because we were trying to kill him. And then we would, if we killed him, we would use the bear to the best of our judgment. In fact, my mom and I were just at a powwow, and she was going to buy furs for herself. And she didn't want to buy the fur because it was her own plan. So what's, like, how do you decide if we were 200, 300 years ago, if bears were in our community and they're not attacking our children, of course, but they're coming into our garbage and they're scaring our kids and scared my mom. Well, because she had McDonald's in her car and all. That's why. But back in, like, way back when, it wouldn't be us as law enforcement and everyone to judge. It would be our elders. And I think it would be like, if they were a nuisance or a danger, we would do ceremonies or something. We would be helpful. We would do something like, you're bear, you're here to, like, be in our environment, in our population, in our home, but please don't scare us because we need to do something about it. And then we would use their bear hide, right, to cover us in warmth or teepees. We would use their claws for traditional things. We would use their bear fat and grease. We would use that, so we have to educate our people to use that, not just to kill them and to think they're a nuisance, but to think that, and I might be talking out of my head, but maybe they're giving themselves to us a little bit. Like, maybe they're trying to teach us, use me, use my fur, use my medicine, use whatever, I'm here for you. We don't know what the teaching is right now, but right now they're overpopulated and it's kind of dangerous. And so we need to do something about it. And it's a very controversial thing. And I'm very back and forth on it. But every animal gives themselves to us, gives themselves to each other. The duck give themselves to us. The deer give themselves to us. Bear give themselves to us. Our plants give themselves. So what is the teaching that we need to learn? Maybe we're not using them right. I don't know, but way back then, we didn't. It would be the elders to decide the bears are getting dangerous, so let's figure out what we're going to do. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I think it needs to be like very, we're given a problem right now, but maybe it's not a problem. Maybe we need to think about it differently. Maybe they're trying to teach us something that we need to use them more to heal, to grow, to learn in culture. If they're our most powerful clan, maybe we need to use them more. Maybe they're giving themselves up to us. Don't know. It's the white people that are bringing them here by attracting them with food, but they're in our communities. And we need to let them know that we don't want to hurt you, but you're scaring us. So how can we live in nature? Maybe we need to take to more elder or whatever to use your fur and things and teach our community and teach us how to heal better. I don't know. I'm just whatever, ranting a little bit, but I just think back in the old days, it wasn't Tony Mason. It wasn't anyone to decide who could kill a bear or not. It was our elders and it was us. And if a bear came into our yard, you're damn right he would kill it if he was interrupting our family life. But then we would use it, just like we use deer and our ducks and our monomen and everything else that the Creator gives us, then we would use the bear. So I don't know, we maybe look at it in a different way a little bit. Again, I know it's going to be a big, long talk in the future. And I know, of course, I've known my mom all my life, but she like has really, the conservation committee brings her a lot of grief. It does, really. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Teresa. Inc.
I just want to say something before.
Counselor,
We're getting into like an hour over. I do want to respect everyone's time, so we'll take one more comment, and then Carol will do a quick update of the roundhouse, and then we'll wrap it up.
All this stuff began, the bear, the deer coming into our yards, is when you locked up our dogs. When they locked up our dogs. I mean, every one of us here had a little dog. And mine my husky grew up pretty big. I was 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. Everybody had a dog. We let them free. They were free to run around a res. They never attacked any other buddy's kids. Everybody was petting each other's dogs. You go to any household, they had a big dog there. No bears, no deers, nothing wild came around a res because we had our dogs. And I think that's what we should do again is unleash our dogs. Let them be around our yard. Let them have fun out in our yard like they used to. Unlock them. Then once them dogs are unlocked and they start chasing these animals around, eventually them animals are going to leave. Your bears, your deer. It's just that simple. You look at the big picture again. The time you locked up start locking our dogs, that's when all this stuff started happening. The bears are coming in, and now we let our dogs out, I mean, some people, dog's best friend is the best friend to all of us. I mean, Sue, eat it. Because it's a ceremonial thing. And I was taught and showed what that dog does when you eat it. It does to our spirits. So I'm not kidding about that. I mean, we should just let our dogs go again. That's just one little simple thing to do. And they're going to start scaring these bears away once they start barking at them, chasing them. There goes your problem.
Big Witch, Ron, Inc. Okay, Carol?
So we started working on trying to plan and build roundhouses. We want to do one in Vermilion and one in Nett Lake, but we need the elders' help. We are having a meeting on July 27th at 11 a.m. at the ENP. And we'd like all the elders to show up because we want to ask them what they want. How big do they want it? What do they want in there? What do they want to use it for? So that would really help. And maybe we could try to set up a Teams so that other elders off the res can have their input. But please, if you can attend that meeting, I'm begging you. That's all I had. Anyone have any
I have
questions?
a question. You said July 27th, which ENP would it be?
The Nett Lake one, development.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna, probably if you wanted.
At what time?
Would be better.
Flyers?
Have it to RT because, we don't have well, we have internet there, but I didn't get the TV set up yet.
Oh.
So we would.
We can't hear. Go ahead.
So she's suggesting we have it at the RTC building because they don't have Zoom or Teams access. So we'll do that at the RTC building.
Nett Lake?
Yeah, and Nett Lake.
Carol,
Might need to look at.
Carol, could you explain the two pots of funds that we could possibly pursue for this? You remember?
You're catching me off guard here. The funding agencies. Do you remember what they were?
The one was from the state. I think that one was a grant. The other one was from the USDA, which was a loan.
Yep.
And that one was a low interest loan. We could also incorporate demolishing the current DNR building and putting that roundhouse there.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're trying to get funding from different sources that will pay for the whole thing. And the roundhouse we estimate will be, well, depending on what type of roundhouse it's going to be, could be as much as 5 million. And our architect will be at the meeting with 3 different drawings. One will be the old time traditional one. Another drawing will be the a more moderate one with some amenities in it. And then the third one will be a dream, what we dream big kind of plan. And so he will have drawings there for people that could actually look at them. We'd like to plan a small bingo for people just to help provide an incentive for elders to come. And so at 11 o'clock on the 27th.
Can we arrange transportation with Big Woods for Vermillion to come over if they want, rather than if they don't
Yeah.
have Zoom capabilities? Okay.
I just want to add a quick note here. They've been asking me for a list of the elders. I hate to keep harping on this, but the elders haven't been turning in their applications. And so I cannot, the elders have not been turning in their applications, so I cannot update the mailing addresses for the elders. We cannot keep using the enrollment books. It has to do with the things on the applications for the ENPs.
Okay. Thank you, Millie. Thank you, Carol. No, Carol. Okay. All right. Well, it was a good meeting, good information, good discussion. Very good to see everybody. I know we lost quite a bit of people, but that's okay. Good. It was very good to actually get together. That's how we are as people. We like to gather. I know there's teams and whatever, but I want to thank the people online for coming and suggestions. And make sure that if you have any comments or questions, you can go online, or if you can't, you can go online, call the office and talk to Nikki or Regina if you'd like, so that we can have our next meeting again, and we will try get another meeting set up on the bear discussion, because that is going to be a lengthy discussion. And so the girls will keep the link open that's on this agenda form, and the agenda form is on the website, right? Yes, so that link is on there. So again, everybody safe travels. Chi-Miigwech for coming tonight and for just getting together and visiting and talking and giving us your input. So Chi-Miigwech. Good job. That was a good meeting. My eyes are.